like, oh, you like the next Pac? I'm like, no, I'm the first X. They would say that.
Great. That's great.
You know, when you get to the point where you're talking to your teeth, I'm like, look, lady. And like, listen, you're playing with fire right now. I'm saying this is my time. I said,
Katt Williams, the comic arsonist with a flamethrower for a mouth, has lit up the industry once again. This time, he's not just throwing shade, he's dragging the sun down on some of music's biggest untouchables. Y'all know Katt doesn't just bark, he bites, and his latest claims are no exception. DMX wasn't just another star lost to excess, he was, Williams insists, purposefully snuffed out by a syndicate of industry titans terrified of what he might say, with Jay-Z and Beyoncé playing a starring role in the cover-up. Williams has a track record. For years, he's been that one wild uncle at Thanksgiving who says the quiet part out loud, except in this family, the table seats billionaires, federal agents, and at least 3 bodyguards. If there's a comic with nothing to lose, it's Katt. And when he starts name-dropping power couples and suggesting the music industry is run more like a mob family than a business, people tend to listen, if only to see who sues him first.
I mean, why waste my time?
And sometimes you respond to something that brings way more attention to it, too.
That too, and it's just, it goes into another space, and then you just like, oh, y'all not listening to me.
Right. But then you'll have somebody that'll say to you.
But this isn't just another late-night podcast soundbite or a recycled meme for hip-hop message boards. Williams' allegations slice straight into the heart of the legacy Jay-Z and Beyoncé have so carefully crafted. He points at DMX, the late, gravel-voiced prophet of Yonkers, a man who fought and barked and bled his pain for the world. And he doesn't buy the official story, the one that blames it all on self-inflicted wounds. According to Williams, DMX was marked for silence, not by his own demons, but by a cabal of boardroom fixers and festival regulars who saw his raw authenticity as a threat. And he doesn't let Jay-Z off easy. He ties the Roc Nation head not just to sabotage, but to a decades-long web of favors and alliances with men now facing the full, ugly weight of RICO charges and unthinkable accusations. The stuff of gangland films? Maybe. But these days, life is starting to look a lot more like the movies.
This morning, rap mogul Jay-Z is denying allegations he assaulted a 13-year-old girl alongside rapper Sean Diddy Combs. That civil lawsuit filed against Combs in October was amended Sunday to include Jay-Z. The accuser, identified only as Jane Doe, says she was assaulted by both men.
What's really heating up the rumor mill, though, is the role of Beyoncé herself. Williams claims her famous silence is more than just loyalty. It's the linchpin of a billion-dollar damage control operation. We've all seen Beyoncé manage her image with the precision of a nuclear engineer. Publicly unshakable, privately, sources allege, not so immune. Word from well-placed insiders, she's confessed to close confidence that she's terrified of what could happen if the truth came out. There are whispers that, before DMX's fatal spiral, Beyoncé personally warned him to steer clear of dangerous circles in the industry. That's not just friendly advice from one star to another. Insiders say it was a thinly veiled warning that she knew something dark was about to unfold. Imagine being Beyoncé, standing at the crossroads between your own conscience and your husband's empire, forced to choose which secret to keep. It's a classic Hollywood dilemma, but with a lot more zeros at stake.
There was no internet people taking pictures of you and putting your personal life or exploiting your personal life as entertainment. I think people are so brainwashed. You get up in the morning, you click on the computer, you see all these pictures, and it's all you think of is the picture and the image that you see all day, every day.
And let's not pretend this is some distant tinfoil hat scenario. Jay-Z and DMX have a feud that goes back to the dawn of modern hip-hop. A clash of egos, of empires, and ultimately of survival. The stories are everywhere, from their notorious battle in a smoky Bronx pool hall in the 90s, through the early years of Def Jam when X accused Jay-Z of using his new position to ice him out, and up to that ugly fallout that ended with DMX leaving the label deeply in debt. Now, Rough Riders insiders and former producers talk openly about how Jay-Z, once a rival, allegedly became a saboteur, pushing DMX out not just for business, but out of pure jealousy. The receipts? Not all are on paper, but DMX himself, blunt as ever, said it. Def Jam stopped focusing on me after Jay-Z came in reigns. According to X, Jay-Z wasn't just hungry for success. He wanted the competition erased, not merely outperformed.
I actually had a chance to see Pop.
Oh, word?
Walking. He said,
I never met Pop.
He said,
What if all those egos and rivalries were just a polite mask for something more ruthless? Williams isn't the first to suggest the lines between competition and conspiracy get very blurry at the top. The music world is already reeling from Diddy's spectacular flameout. 1 minute, sparkling brunches with Jay-Z. The next, federal raids and stories of secret parties no one dares talk about without a lawyer present. Jay-Z, ever the chess player, has stayed silent as Diddy's inner circle flips. But silence is itself an answer. And that silence has gotten only more deafening, as Jay-Z's own name appears in lawsuits and ugly allegations, circling back to those same infamous parties, those same years where careers were made or ended at the stroke of a checkbook. Even 50 Cent can't resist poking the bear, sharing memes and laughing about Jay-Z's sudden hibernation. When even your enemies start to sound worried for you, it's probably time to hire a few extra publicists.
I think that they don't want, if they was in any of those freak-off tapes, if they played a part in any of those Diddy sessions, they don't want it to get out to the general public to make up their...
And all the while, we're supposed to believe Beyoncé is just a bystander? Every industry veteran will tell you, nothing happens around her by accident. And when she chooses silence, it's not ignorance, it's intent. There are now rumors too that Beyoncé has privately wrestled with the consequences of knowing too much. People close to the situation describe late-night calls, anxious confessions, even attempts to distance herself from certain figures, only to be pulled back in by the realities of money, marriage, and reputation. The story goes that as DMX's troubles mounted, Beyoncé cautioned him not to get too close to a particular crew, not just to keep him safe, but to keep him from stepping on landmines she already knew existed. Of course, Williams isn't exactly dropping evidence on court steps, but the bigger picture is compelling. Why was DMX, a man beloved across genres and demographics, suddenly so isolated in his final years? Why, after a lifetime of bouncing back from every blow, did he meet such a swift, clinical end? One that left as many questions as answers. The official story says it was his own choices. But then, the official story also asks us to believe that Jay-Z and Diddy's brotherhood was just two moguls looking out for each other, and now we see where that's gotten both of them. The RICO charges facing Diddy, the raids, the stories of coordinated silence and hush money, none of it feels very brotherly. And if Jay-Z was as close to Diddy as he says, how far removed can he really be from the rot underneath?
They're selling our people short, man. Get this, wear this, have this, drive this.
This is the kind of story that sucks all the air out of the room. Everybody's got an opinion, but nobody wants to go on the record. You've got former assistants testifying about payoffs, security guards talking about bribes, and a federal case that's made clear these business empires were built on more than just talent and hard work. Prosecutors are painting a picture where powerful men use their companies to shield, silence, and intimidate exactly the kind of machinery that could quietly eliminate a problem like DMX. Meanwhile, Williams reminds us that the same tools used to protect reputations can also be used to erase inconvenient people. And it's not lost on anyone that DMX, for all his demons, was about as inconvenient as they come. Add to this toxic brew the long history of rap's biggest losses, the parallels between DMX, Shakur, Biggie, stars who all made enemies in the highest places, who all raged against the machinery of an industry that wanted them loud, but not uncontrollable, are impossible to ignore. The deeper we dig, the more it seems like anyone who tries to fight the current ends up swept away. There is an entire genre of urban legend built on this very premise. Stars who wanted out, stars who threatened to reveal too much, stars who paid the ultimate price for crossing the wrong people. When even the demise of Aaliyah, remember the theories about Illuminati sacrifices, about her sudden absence clearing the runway for Beyoncé's superstardom, gets dragged into the same conversation. You start to wonder how much is coincidence and how much is choreography.
I want you to think about this. Allegedly, Sean Carter is responsible for enacting Katt Williams to put Aaliyah on a faulty plane to move her out the way as punishment for rejecting him, and so he could level up Beyoncé.
Yet here we are, in the year of lawsuits, indictments, and confessions, watching the boundaries between rumor and reality blur in real time. Williams' allegations may sound outrageous until you line them up against the things we know for a fact. Jay-Z did sign off on DMX's exit from Def Jam, forgiving a mountain of debt, but only after X was already out the door and the rivalry no longer threatened Roc Nation's ascent. DMX did publicly claim that Jay-Z was jealous and that industry leaders worked to erase him from the spotlight. Beyoncé did find herself on multiple occasions having to separate her husband from physical altercations at high-profile parties. No stranger to cleaning up behind the scenes, even when bottles and egos were both getting smashed.
Jay-Z got his whooped by his sister-in-law on camera. What's her name? Solange. You got it after. The feds ain't step in and do nothing. The feds don't care about you getting your for?
So what are we left with? A world where the biggest stars walk on eggshells, where every friendship is a potential liability, and where even marriages might double as power plays. Williams is just the latest to throw gasoline on a story that's been smoldering for years, but for once, the smoke is starting to look like fire. And as the questions stack up, why was DMX pushed out? Who benefits from his silence? What did Beyoncé know, and when did she know it? We're reminded that, in this business, the only thing more dangerous than telling the truth is being the last one left to tell it. Did Beyoncé and Jay-Z work together to bury the truth about DMX? And if so, what else are they hiding? We can't talk about DMX's demise without following the money and tracing the power. If we believe Katt Williams and the whispers echoing through the industry, there's a darker game afoot. A game that reaches deep into the velvet rope corridors of Jay-Z and Diddy's infamous white parties. Those lavish East Hampton spectacles, paraded for the press as harmless A-list summer bacchanals, take on a new, chilling light in this context. We now know those parties weren't just networking opportunities or ego parades for the ultra-rich. They were the industry's most exclusive playground, and according to some sources, the ultimate testing ground for loyalty and obedience. Rumors keep surfacing, sometimes from ex-bodyguards, sometimes from the artists themselves, hinting that what happened behind those white curtains was less sparkling toast, more quiet coercion. The list of attendees is a roll call of pop culture's untouchables, and the consequences for stepping out of line? Well, just ask the ones who are no longer around to speak for themselves.
But after that major documentary comes out on Diddy, then you're going to start to hear more and more about Jay-Z and his nefarious past.
The real bombshell here is the theory that DMX, at the tail end of his run in the spotlight, stumbled across something he was never supposed to see. The story goes that X, always the outsider, was drawn into the orbit of these white parties, not by choice, but by the gravitational pull of an industry that swallows its own. More than one person has quietly claimed he witnessed acts or conversations that would have devastated careers and destroyed legacies if they'd ever come to light. We can't corroborate what he saw. But what makes this rumor so potent is how it dovetails with DMX's own paranoia in his final years. The late-night phone calls to friends, the nervous energy on tour, and the way he kept his circle smaller than ever. And who, in those years, was known as Diddy's strategist. The man who handled fallout, negotiated feuds, and kept the machinery humming? Jay-Z. The media has always portrayed the Roc Nation founder as the ultimate chess player. But if even a fraction of these claims are true, he was also a fixer, tasked with keeping the lid on the entertainment industry's dirtiest secrets. Let's step back. The white party mythology didn't appear out of thin air. These gatherings were attended by a veritable who's who: Justin Bieber, Mariah Carey, Leonardo DiCaprio, Jennifer Lopez. But beneath the Instagram-ready surface, the power dynamics were lethal. We now know federal investigators have described Diddy's business as a criminal enterprise in court, with witness testimony laying out patterns of intimidation, manipulation, and hush money. One former publicist remembers Diddy's code word: if he winked at you and said, "Come into the VIP section," you knew you were going to have a really good night. Today, we know not everyone left those nights with their reputation or conscience intact. If DMX began asking the wrong questions, poking at alliances that stretched from boardrooms to back rooms, it's not hard to imagine why he'd become a problem too dangerous to ignore.
And we may actually see one of the biggest divorces in Hollywood is because Jay-Z is up next to be exposed.
Jay-Z's proximity to Diddy, especially during the height of these parties, wasn't just professional courtesy. According to ex-insiders, Jay-Z was the strategist, Diddy's confidant, his brain trust, and sometimes his cleanup crew. There are stories of Jay-Z and Diddy working together to control narratives, sideline threats, and when needed, buy silence. With Diddy now facing a mountain of allegations ranging from racketeering to witness tampering, and Jay-Z's own name being pulled into lawsuits, the narrative is beginning to rot from the inside. If DMX saw something at those gatherings or threatened to expose the hierarchy's true face, that places him at the center of a crossfire, one that no amount of chart success or street credibility could shield him from.
I know so much on how you got where you are, how you stepped on many people.
This is where things take a sinister turn. In his final days, DMX didn't sound like a man defeated by addiction or age. He sounded hunted. Those close to him recount cryptic warnings, telling friends to watch their backs, to avoid certain parties, to steer clear of particular crews. One confidant claims DMX once said, "If something happens to me, look at who benefits." It's the kind of warning that gets shrugged off as paranoia until it doesn't. When the industry's biggest names are so thoroughly entangled, when favors owed run into the millions of dollars, and everyone is holding everyone else's secrets, it only takes one person refusing to play along to make the whole system unstable. The parallels with Katt Williams himself are impossible to miss. Williams is no stranger to exile. His career has been a case study in what happens when a celebrity won't toe the line. He's faced canceled tours, legal headaches, and accidental blackballing, always after speaking out about the ugly side of entertainment. Now he points to DMX's downfall as a cautionary tale, the inevitable result of refusing to bend to the system. Both men at their peak were beloved precisely because they didn't hold back, because they put truth-telling above brand protection, and both ultimately found themselves increasingly isolated, targeted, and painted as unstable by the very apparatus that once profited from their authenticity.
And very, very honored that I got the response and the open heart, and people welcomed the album. The love I got from the country community tonight really made me feel so seen, and I'm very grateful.
What does this mean for Beyoncé, the queen who's built her empire on controlled perfection, silent stares, and contracts thicker than a phone book, now finds herself, by choice or by force, at the nerve center of this storm? If Beyoncé truly did warn DMX to keep his distance, was it a plea for his safety or a veiled message from someone who knew how dangerous the game could get? We've heard from several industry veterans that Beyoncé's loyalty isn't just to her marriage or her brand, but to the invisible code that governs these elite circles. For now, her silence shields her, but in an era when old secrets are starting to leak like old pipes, even the most carefully scripted silence might not hold forever. We have to confront what this all says about the cost of defiance in entertainment. DMX's story is a tragedy, yes, but it's also a warning. When you challenge the status quo, when you question the hand that feeds you, when you refuse to join the parade, eventually, you're labeled as unstable, troublesome, or expendable. If Williams is right, and DMX's fate was sealed by something more coordinated than bad luck, then every artist who still refuses to play along should be watching their back. The charges against Diddy, the lawsuits pulling in Jay-Z, the sudden silences from old friends, none of it feels like coincidence anymore.
And we do have some breaking news that we want to bring to you. It was being reported by TMZ and now Fox News. We are learning that Jay-Z is accused of a 13-year-old girl. That is new in the Diddy lawsuit.
The big question, what would it take to finally crack this case wide open? With federal prosecutors circling, former confidants flipping, and the media only just beginning to connect the dots, we may be closer to the edge than we realize. If Beyoncé's silence breaks, if one more A-lister decides to talk, we could see the collapse of a system that's been untouchable for decades. DMX might just be the first thread. The web is still there, but tension is building. And as Katt Williams would have it, the truth has a way of exploding into daylight, no matter how many bodyguards or NDs you stack on top. So what do you think? Is DMX's tragic end just another cautionary tale? Or is it the tip of an iceberg that could finally bring down hip-hop's most powerful empire? Could Beyoncé's silence really be hiding the keys to the whole mystery? Drop your thoughts and wildest theories in the comments. We'll be reading every single one. Until next time, stay curious, stay bold, and remember, the real story is always just one secret away from breaking wide open.